So this review is for The Art of DreamWorks Animation, and this book is huge. It's published by Abrams, who are one of my favorite publishers for these type of books, because they always do such an awesome job. And the book really needs to be this thick because it has art from 20 years of DreamWorks movies. It has a really great front cover of all sketches from all the movies, and I mean, it really looks like it should have a dust jacket, but just these really nice sketches and all sorts of different styles from all their movies, but it looks great. Compilation or anthology art books like this that collect sort of work from a number of movies can sometimes be very hit and miss, but I am so happy to report that this book is absolutely outstanding. So you can see here in the contents it has all 30 of the movies, starting with Ants and going all the way up to Home. There's a foreword by Jeffrey Katzenberg, who is the CEO and one of the co-founders, I guess, of DreamWorks, along with Steven Spielberg. So we start with Ants in 1998. Pixar also has a retrospective book sort of like this. I think theirs was for 25 years. And I looked through that one, but I chose to get this one instead because I am of the very unpopular opinion that DreamWorks makes better movies than Pixar. Or if not better, at least I enjoy them more. I just really like how imaginative the DreamWorks movies are and how varied they are, all the different worlds they create. And this book does such an awesome job of capturing that. It kind of reminds me a lot of the Disney Renaissance during the 90s, and I don't know if it's just a coincidence that Jeffrey Katzenberg was also one of the people, when he was at Disney, was one of the people who were responsible for that renaissance of the Disney movies. And a lot of people give Jeffrey Katzenberg a pretty hard time, and I mean, I don't know about him personally, but professionally he has been responsible, at least in part, for some pretty great movies. So while a lot of the movies later on in this book do have their own dedicated art books, what's really fantastic is this first section that features the movies that never did. So there's tons of this concept art I had never seen before for many of these movies, which is just so great. Things like Ants, Road to El Dorado, Prince of Egypt actually did get its own art book, which was nice. And it was a shame because some of the movies like Road to El Dorado have such fantastic art, so it's great to be able to finally see a lot of that in this book. The style and variety and types of characters, types of worlds are so different between each of the films than the movies that Pixar does. Pixar films have a tendency to feel and look very Pixar movie, but that also might be why they're sort of consistently popular. And see, now we've even moved into Chicken Run, which is not even 2D animation. There's a huge variety of styles and types of art. One thing I'm not 100% sure on though is because I don't have all of the art books for some of the later movies that are featured in this book. I'm curious about how much is overlap, how much is unique to this book, and how much has been reprinted. When we get to Shrek Forever After, I might be able to have a better idea with that because I read that pretty recently. And it's just so fantastic that this book is so hefty because I think you're getting probably around 10 pages per movie roughly, and they do a fantastic job of avoiding one of my pet peeves, which is wasted space. Each page is used to the fullest, so that's really, really nice. And so obviously, even though you've got 10 pages per movie, and these movies each have thousands of conceptual images, the choices that they've made, so they sort of really have to do a best of for this book, and the choices they've made are really, really great. So like Sinbad never got its own art book, and then you get to see really beautiful stuff like this. The layout and design of this book is just phenomenal. The layout's great, the printing quality's great, the image sizes are great. I just really, really like this book. I know I've already said it, but there's just such huge varieties in terms of the styles and that for each of the movies, and so the concept art really feels like you're getting just so many different sorts of aesthetics. However, my one criticism is that the art is not credited or labeled in any way, which is a bit disappointing. And that's pretty much the only thing that could have made this book, pretty much perfect. But that's not too big a gripe, I guess. So as you can see, there's really not a lot of text. Occasionally you will get these little comment boxes that'll feature a quote from a director or a producer or the artist or someone. And it's not particularly mind-blowingly great stuff, but it is still nice to occasionally just have that little bit of commentary accompanying some of the concept art. So see, even to compare this art for Shark's Tale to, say, Finding Nemo, I just really like it better because it's so much more imaginative than Finding Nemo, which is very much more true to life, I guess. Look at this, look at how elaborate the detail is. I'll read one of these text boxes so you can get sort of an idea of what the comments are about. I'll just pick this one at random. In the beginning, we decided to make everything 50% human and 50% fish. Not only in the architecture and the props, but in the characters as well. The way they're modeled and the way they act. We wanted to find that balance between human behavior and fish behavior. Also, Blue Sky Studios has their sort of retrospective art book. I'm not sure for how many years, but that was for stuff like Ice Age and Rio and their movies. But I'm not really a big fan of their movies, not as much as I am of Disney and DreamWorks and Pixar. Wallace and Gromit, I've never got into them. They're pretty creepy. Really creepy. And so at the start of each chapter, the only information you get is sort of the director, the producers, the art director, visual effects supervisor, stuff like that. So see, even for like their crappy movies like Flushed Away, pun intended, still has such really gorgeous artwork. Very good fun to look at. And so going back to that idea of compilation art books, another reason this is really great, because there are some movies like Madagascar, Monsters vs. Aliens, Megamind, that I don't have the art book for just because I didn't feel like I needed a whole art book for each of those, but it's really, really nice to have this book to just be able to feature, just to be able to view small best of selections of the concept art from those movies, which is really nice just to get a sense of the style. And it's really easy. It's much easier to, in a way, if you're not a big fan of those movies, to appreciate the style in this small section rather than needing a whole dedicated book. I'm not sure how many times I can say how much I enjoy this book. It's really, really close to being a perfect art book. And one thing that's sort of interesting is, as you can see, it's presented in portrait rather than landscape, which is kind of interesting because most of the dedicated books for these movies are always landscape, and I actually think I do like this book better because of its vertical format. It just, the pages sit a lot nicer, and they don't, when they're sitting on the shelf, they don't weigh down and put pressure on the binding, and it's much easier to hold. It's very nice. Here, each of the Kung Fu Panda films got their own dedicated art books, which are incredible. So I'll read another one of these quotes. This is by Jennifer Yu Nelson, who directed Kung Fu Panda 2. I was so lucky to have a lot of support from my crew. I'd worked with them for many years, so it was ultimately so rewarding to see the result of all our work on the big screen. After several years of dealing with challenges of directing a huge movie like this, and people giving you at least 3 years of their creative lives. I remember how they screened the movie for the crew at Universal, and the whole street made up to look like a Chinese street. The artists would come to me and say, "Oh, I'm so proud of what I did and was able to create for the movie." That's the best thing you can hear an artist say, to say that they're proud of the work that they did for the movie. So the quotes are not all insight into the process or creation of the movie, but it's very sort of fitting that of the idea of this book being sort of like a retrospective or like a celebration of DreamWorks. So here we go. I've looked through the Shrek Forever After book pretty recently, so as we go through I'll try and point out any of the stuff that I remember has been reprinted in this book from the dedicated art book for the movie. So I don't remember this. I'm pretty sure that was included. Pretty sure that was included. Definitely not included. Definitely not included. Pretty sure those two were. I'm very sure those were. Very sure those were not. That was in there. Don't remember if that was. And pretty sure that this is new to this book. Some of these I think were included. Not sure if that was included. And again, I think maybe a mix of those were included. So just very roughly from my memory, it seems like about maybe a third of the stuff is new to this book. So 2/3 has already been reprinted from the dedicated art book, which is, not great, but there you go. So see, I really want to know who did some of these artworks for Megamind, because I just love that sort of almost mid-century modern style. Reminds me a lot of The Incredibles, and not just because of the superhero motif, but because of the sort of art style. So while we're going through the rest of the book, I'll just flip back to the table of contents and go through and just let you know which movies do have their own dedicated art books. Ants, no. Prince of Egypt, yes. Road to El Dorado, no. Chicken Run, not sure. Shrek, no, but the first 3 Shrek films did get a compilation art book called The Art of the Quest that was released in maybe 2007. And there's also another book called Shrek From Swamp to Screen, which is sort of the making of Shrek 1 and 2, but it also does feature quite a bit of concept art. Spirit, no. Sinbad, no. Shrek 2, well I already mentioned that. Shark's Tale, no. Madagascar, I think only Madagascar 2 and 3 got art books. I don't think the first Madagascar film did. Wallace and Gromit, no idea. I'm pretty sure it got a sort of making of art book. Over the Hedge, no. Flushed Away, no. Shrek the Third, no. B-Movie, yes. Kung Fu Panda, yes. Madagascar 2, already mentioned. Monsters vs. Aliens, yes. How to Train Your Dragon, yes. Shrek Forever After, yes. Megamind, yes. Kung Fu Panda 2, yes. Puss in Boots, yes. Madagascar 3, yes. Rise of the Guardians, yes. Croods, yes. Turbo, yes. Mr. Peabody and Sherman, yes. How to Train Your Dragon 2, yes. Home, yes. And so you can see all those later movies got their own art books once, art books for movies became much more popular. And so this is a picture of all of the directors of the DreamWorks movies, and you can see the ones who couldn't attend have sort of like a drawing of their face in there. So then all the awards that DreamWorks has won and been nominated for, and that's it. A really, really amazing art book, one of my favorites.